Good morning, everybody. You doing well this morning? Would you stand, please? Let's sing together. Leaning on the everlasting arms. What a fellowship, what a joy divine, leaning on the everlasting arms. What a blessedness, what a peace of mind, leaning on the everlasting arms. Leaning, safe and secure from all alarms. Leaning on the everlasting arms. Oh, how sweet to walk in this pilgrim way, leaning on the everlasting arms. Oh, how bright the path grows from day to day, leaning on the everlasting arms. Leaning, safe and secure from all alarms. Leaning on the everlasting arms. What have I to dread? What have I to fear? Leaning on the everlasting arms. I have blessed peace with my help so near. Leaning on the everlasting arms. Leaning, safe and secure from all alarms. Leaning on the everlasting arms.
And all God's people said, Amen. Good morning. It's so good to see all of you. Welcome to Northside. I invite you to remain standing and let us proclaim together what we believe. Let us recite together the Apostles' Creed. I believe in God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord, who was conceived by the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, dead, and buried. The third day he rose from the dead. He ascended into heaven and sitteth at the right hand of God the Father Almighty. From thence he shall come to judge the quick and the dead. I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and the life everlasting. Amen.
Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Ghost, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen.
I invite you now to step out of your pew, turn and greet those around you.
sing with us, please? All the way my Savior leads me. Who have I to ask beside? How could I doubt his tender mercy? Who through life has been my guide? All the way my Savior leads me. And cheers each winding path I tread, and gives me grace for every trial, feeds me with the living bread. You lead me and keep me from falling. You carry me close to your heart, and surely your goodness and mercy will follow me. All the way my Savior leads me. Oh, the fullness of his love. Oh, the sureness of his promise. In the triumph of his blood. When my spirit clothed immortal, wings as flight to realms of day. This my song through endless ages. Jesus led me all the way. Jesus led me all the way. You lead me and keep me from falling. You carry me close to your heart, and surely your goodness and mercy will follow me. You lead me and keep me from falling. You carry me close to your heart, and surely your goodness and mercy will follow me. Will follow me. All the way my Savior leads me. All the way my Savior leads me.
Aren't you incredibly grateful for the way that our Savior leads you? You may be seated. As we prepare our hearts for the message that Brian will be sharing today, listen to this scripture taken from Ephesians, the 5th chapter. Be subject to one another out of reverence for Christ. Wives, be subject to your husbands as to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, and is himself its Savior. As the church is subject to Christ, so let wives also be subject in everything to their husbands. Husbands, love your wives, as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Let each one of you love his wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother. This is the first commandment with a promise, that it may be well with you and that you may live long on the earth. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. I hope as you came in, you got one of the bulletins, and if you turn to the part of the bulletin that has the prayer concerns, you'll see quite a large number of Northside family as well as friends and relatives of Northside's family that have asked this church body to be in prayer for them. I want to remind you before we go to the Lord in prayer that next Sunday, as is our rededication Sunday, you will want to be here, right here in the sanctuary, beginning at 9 a.m. We'll start off that day of celebration with some special music at 9, and then there will be a time for some refreshments and some touring around of the renovated areas along with a video, and I'm not going to tell you all the surprises, but you want to be here. 9 o'clock, and then worship service right here in the sanctuary beginning at 10 a.m. It's going to be a great day of celebration as we give God thanks for what God has been doing and is doing through the people of Northside Church. So you don't want to miss. Also, just make sure you notice announcements in the bulletin, including we are in the middle of our third quarter mission focus, and we also are in the month where we're asking everyone, if this is your church home, to fill out one of the green sheets, the ministry opportunity sheets. They are out on a table out in the lobby area. As we lift up all of these individuals that are on our prayer list, as well as ones that are on your own heart, Let's pray together. Oh Lord, we thank you so much for the unconditional way that you love us. Holy Spirit, you are welcome in this place. We have gathered here today, those of us in the sanctuary, those that will gather in Hope Hall at the 11 o'clock service, those who are watching by live stream, either now or sometime through the week. But we have all gathered for one purpose, and that is to worship you, oh God. For you are so worthy of our worship. So Lord, help us do that well. Help us to be able to set aside, to lay down anything that would hinder us from worshiping you. Lord, we bless your holy name. We honor you. We worship you. Lord, open up our hearts, open our ears, open our very souls, and help us to listen well to you as you speak to each one of us this morning. Help us to pay attention to the words of the songs that we sing, to the prayers said, to the scripture read, to the message that you have laid upon Brian's heart. Lord, when we leave this place, may we be closer to you, Jesus, than when we walked in. And Lord, that starts with our own repentance, our own awareness of our sins, and then being willing to call them a sin and to confess to you and to ask for your forgiveness. Lord, we thank you for that forgiveness that you are so readily willing and able to grant us. Lord, for all of these individuals on our prayer list and for those that are on our hearts, Lord, we lift them to you. We give you praise, oh Lord, for Henry Gilbreth and the absolute miracle in his life this week as he has improved so drastically. Lord, we praise you for that. And Lord, for all the prayers that each one of us are saying for so many other situations, Lord, we know that you know those details. And we know that you're already at work. And for that, we thank you. We praise you, Lord. Lord, help us to be teachable. Help us to never think that we get to the place where we have everything figured out, that we have you figured out, or that we don't need to continue to learn and to grow and to become more and more like you, Jesus. So hear us now as we pray together the prayer that you taught your disciples to pray. Hear us as we pray boldly. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. I invite our acolytes and our ushers to come forward as we give our tithes and offerings to God.
Good morning. If you have your backpacks, kiddos, bring those down with you. If not, come join us anyways. Good morning. Good morning. I'll go get one. So what has happened in the last week or two around here? School. What about school? Oh, well, I'm glad it was good. Was it anything new? Was it a new classroom, a new teacher, maybe a new school, new supplies? How many of you went to go shopping for school supplies and to pick out the crayons and the backpack and the scissors and whatever else? How many of you, sometimes those new things are sometimes kind of scary? They can be scary sometimes, can't they? Yeah, but you know what's really awesome? We serve a God who's bigger than all of those. So Mr. Ken's going to read something real quick, and while he's doing it, I'm going to come by and give you one of these backpack tags, and he's going to read what's on the back of it. Okay, and I want you to just listen as he's reading that, okay?
Okay, so just like Miss Miranda said, we have these tags for you, and we're going to hang them on our bags, and it's going to, remind us that just remember that you're chosen, protected, and strong, just as you are as a child of God. So, like I said, the first thing, there's three things we want you to remember. Number one, you are chosen. And here's a little verse. It's from Mark 1:17. It says, "Know that you are special and unique, made and chosen by God. He has set you apart. Come follow me," Jesus said, "and I will make you fishers of men." The second thing that I listed and said was, you are protected. Like we protect our backpacks every day, right? Or our lockers, that sort of thing. And this is from Psalms 139:5. "You go before me and follow me. You place your hand of blessing on my head. Know that you are protected. The Lord is with you. Not just with you, but with you always." Just like with the backpack, that's with you every day, or supposed to be, if hopefully we don't forget it, right? It's always with you, right? Just like God. And last is you are what? You are strong. "You give me your shield of victory, and your right hand sustains me. You stoop down to make me great. So know that God gives you the strength and courage for any battle you may face. You are a warrior for the Lord."
Before we close in prayer, I'm going to turn to the rest of your church family for just a second. Can we have all of the teachers, administrators, personnel stand up for just a second? I know there's several of you out there. I want to make sure you get one of these tags too, to put on your teacher bag, whatever that may look like. And when we do this closing prayer is for all of us. Because if you've got a kiddo that's in school right now, or a grandkid, or a niece or a nephew or a friend, this back to school time can be scary for some. Okay? And we all need that little reminder that God's got our back, and that He's got us, and that we are His children. So will y'all pray with me? Most amazing and loving God, thank you for new opportunities. Thank you for the opportunity to go to school. Thank you for giving us the opportunities to be taught. God, be with all of us, students, teachers, administrators, support staff, parents, and all, as the new school year begins. We know that you are before us, you are with us, and you will follow behind us. Give us the confidence to walk into our classrooms with the boldness that only comes from you. God, I ask a special blessing over the backpacks that will be carried through those school doors. I pray for the work that will be carried in them, and I pray for the kiddos who will be doing the work. God, I pray for the teacher bags and the purses that will be carried in and out of schools. I pray for the adults in each of the school buildings. I pray for peace and stamina to last throughout the year. I pray for each of the families represented here today and pray for a successful school year where you are at the center of everything that happens. Guide us and protect us. Give us the words to be kind and let us be your hands and feet wherever we go. We love you, God. Amen. If you're going to Kids Express, I'll meet you at the back. If not, you can go back and sit with your parents.
Jesus at the center of it all. Jesus at the center of it all. From beginning to the end, it will always be, it's always been you, Jesus. Jesus, nothing else matters. Nothing in this world will do. Jesus, you're the center, and everything revolves around you. Jesus, Jesus, be the center of my life. Jesus, be the center of my life. From beginning to the end, it will always be, it's always been you, Jesus. Oh, Jesus, nothing else matters. Nothing in this world will do. Jesus, you're the center, and everything revolves around you. Jesus, you. From my heart to the heavens, Jesus, be the center. It's all about you. Yes, it's all about you. From my heart to the heavens, Jesus, be the center. It's all about you. Yes, it's all about you. From my heart to the heavens, Jesus, be the center. It's all about you. Well, it's all about you. From my heart to the heavens, Jesus, be the center. It's all about you. It's all about you. Jesus at the center of it all. Jesus at the center of it all. From beginning to the end, it will always be, it's always been you, Jesus. 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 Sweet Jesus.
Thank you, Ray, for sharing that with us this morning. I suppose all of us are familiar with the children's story of Humpty Dumpty. And you know how it goes. Old Humpty was minding his own business, sitting on a wall, when tragedy struck. Was he pushed? Maybe he jumped. Well, perhaps he was a bit carelessly too close to the edge. Whatever the reason is, we find out that poor old Humpty is laying on the ground in pieces, and all the king's horses and all the king's men didn't have the slightest idea how to put him back together again. Now, again, it's a children's story. And yet the reality is that story is far too often reenacted in the modern American family. Statistics abound to prove the point. Couples see their marriages break to pieces before their very eyes. Children are fractured without boundaries and parental respect. And parents crumble under the weight of parental responsibility and are tempted to just let the church nurture their children spiritually, if at all. How could this be? Materialism, permissiveness, selfishness, lack of self-control, and inconsistency are but a few of the answers given. But whatever the cause, it seems that far too many families have played too close to the edge for too long before the inevitable fall came. This brings rise to the inevitable question: is the family forever doomed to stay in pieces, or is there hope? I believe there is hope for the family to be put together again. And to help us with that, we're going to turn to that passage in Ephesians that was read earlier in the service. What Paul shares here about family life is what we might call the glue to either mend the family or to keep it together. So based on this passage, here's what you need to do in order to either keep the family together or put it together again. First of all, we have this: reestablish mutual love and submission between husband and wife. Now, I want you to hear this. The key to everything we're going to be talking about this morning is found in verse 21. Keep that in mind. The key to everything is in verse 21. However, unfortunately, most study Bibles begin the conversation about family life with verse 22. And there we read that wives are called upon to submit to their husbands as to the Lord. Why? Because the husband is the head of the wife, just as Christ is the head of the church. And it is here where the problems arise. Some wives chafe at the idea of submitting to their husbands as being a throwback to a misogynistic past where husbands basically ruled them. So they just simply dismiss Paul's admonition as being hopelessly out of touch. At the same time, some husbands see this passage as giving them permission to be heavy-handed with their wives because God has put them in charge. In their minds, God has placed them higher on the hierarchy than their wives, and so what they say goes, even if what they say isn't all that wise. But, when you start at verse 21, a whole new idea begins to open up. There we read where believers are to yield themselves, submit themselves to one another in an overarching way in every relationship they have. In fact, the phrase in verse 22 to submit or to be subject to isn't even in the Greek text. It's assumed from verse 21. So, are wives to yield themselves to their husbands? Absolutely. But they aren't the only ones who are called to this countercultural way of relating. Husbands are called to love their wives. Now, there may be some husbands that are going to want to say, there you go, there you go. It doesn't say submit, it just says love. So I'm not supposed to submit to my wife. She's supposed to submit to me. Well, in response, let me just take you back to the text again. Husbands are to love their wives. How? As Christ loved the church. How did Christ love the church? He died for it. He voluntarily yielded, submitted, if you will, his life for the sake of the church. Now, you take these two instructions to husbands and wives, and you put this together. Wives willingly yield themselves to their husbands in a respectful way. Husbands willingly yield themselves to their wives in sacrificially loving ways. Gone is the notion that somehow God has established some sort of male-centered hierarchy in marriage. And its place is a way of relating with one another that mirrors how Christ relates with us. Now, can you imagine what would happen in marriages if Christian couples began to operate this way? It would be staggering. Husbands totally yielding themselves to and loving their wives. Wives totally yielding to and loving their husbands. Power struggles give way to the lordship of Christ, who, by the way, is the ultimate head of the home. And so as a result, both have their needs met, the guard falls, the communication opens, problems can be faced, forgiveness can be expressed, expectations can be more real, and on it goes. Now, in contrast to that, consider the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Number one, you're familiar with the movie. You know that the father in the home was really big on being in charge. Since he was the husband, he thought that what he said was the way it ought to be. So when his daughter fell in love and wanted to marry a non-Greek boy, he basically pitched a fit. And so the whole family, is now in this hanging on edges, wondering what's going to happen. So when the daughter goes to the mom to express all the distress that she's feeling because of all of this, her mom just kind of pulls her aside and says, it's going to be all right. Your dad may be the head of the home, but I'm the neck, and I can turn the head any way I want to. Now, I remember being in the movie theater when that was going on. It was packed, about 75% women. And I can remember hearing from the audience, you go, girl, you tell them. But let me ask you, is that the way you really want your marriage to be like? A husband acting like some know-it-all, running roughshod over everybody in the house, while the wife schemes and manipulates in the background, pretending to be the sweet, submissive spouse? Is that what you really want? Of course not. So husbands, here's the deal. Love your wife. Love her with every ounce of your being. Take the lead in making sure that your home truly honors the Lord. And wives, give yourself away to your husband. Yield to him as he loves you. Cooperate with him in making sure that together you build a home that honors the Lord. I'm telling you, if both partners will buy into this idea of mutually yielding to one another, it's going to go a long way. toward putting the family together again. That's the first thing. Here's the second. Reestablish mutual respect between parents and children. Now, there's little doubt but that the situation in many homes between parents and children is at best a brief ceasefire. Each side dares the other to cross the line, and when the line is crossed, the war is on. Once again, some of the same dynamics that we saw in marriages are operating here. Parents and children are functioning independently of each other. Each side is attempting to protect their own needs and rights and desires through power plays. And as a result, children sometimes feel that their parents exist to satisfy their every desire. And sometimes parents feel that their children exist to meet their own personal needs. Lost in all of this selfishness is the goal of sharing life together as a family unit. So instead of settling for an ongoing contest of pitting parents against the kids, the goal is to develop a bond of oneness. The scripture shows us how to do this. First of all, children are told to obey their parents. Now, I realize the word obey in our culture has unfortunately become loaded with a lot of negativity. So perhaps you could use the word respect or honor. In fact, Paul talks about honoring parents later on. But regardless of the word that's used, children are called upon to follow the guidance of their parents. Not because parents are always right or because they're never selfish, but because they have a God-given responsibility to guide their children's lives. So young people, your parents have a job to do. Their job is to teach you how to do life, how to be responsible, how to become self-disciplined, and ultimately, how to follow Christ. Now, I'm going to let you in on a secret, young folks. Your parents aren't perfect. I wasn't perfect as a parent. Yours aren't perfect. And just in case you wondered, there aren't any perfect parents. But they're still your parents. And your job is to follow their guidance as best you can. Parents, obviously, you have a role in this too. Paul specifically singles out fathers, given the culture that they were in, as he tells them that they should instruct their children in a balanced way that does not exasperate them. I would contend this is a word that is equally valid for mothers. It's your responsibility as parents to create an environment where respect will be natural for your children. Now, here's why that's important. How your children learn to respect you will go a long way toward determining how they will respect their spouses and other adults in the future. So you'll have to earn their respect by demonstrating a respectful lifestyle. The old do as I say, not as I do concept is just foolishness. The quickest way to lose control of your children is to let them see glaring inconsistencies in your own life that you are not willing to admit or deal with. That means if you want your child to be forgiving, cooperative, neat, polite, industrious, and responsible, then you should be forgiving, cooperative, neat, polite, industrious, and responsible yourself. If you act immaturely, your child will not respect you and you will have lost the moral high ground that parents so desperately need. Now, in saying this, I want to point out that there are no guarantees. As a parent, you may have done the best you knew how to teach and show your children. the right path. But your children, like all children, are free to choose whether or not they will follow that parental guidance. So having a rebellious child does not automatically mean that you have failed as a parent. Remember this. Remember, the goal of every parent should be to pave the best possible road for their children as they learn to walk with God. And hopefully those children will choose to walk on it. All we can do is to make sure to make that road as available as possible. So mutual respect is needed. Parents must act in respect toward their children by behaving like adults, and children must act in respect toward their parents by following their guidance. And it's the parents who have to take the lead in establishing this kind of relationship. Do this and you increase the likelihood of having a happy home. And that leads to the last thing, and I must say, by far the most important directive in putting the family together again. And that is to reestablish mutual devotion between family and God. See, there is throughout this entire passage a basic assumption. Paul is assuming that husbands, wives, parents, and children have a commitment to the Lord, and that all parties desire to honor the Lord with their lives. Without that, there is no power to fulfill any of the rest of the instruction. In other words, the most important thing you can do to pull together as a family is to commit yourself to the Lord and to His church. And therein is the central reason why so many families are falling apart today. That basic commitment is lacking. Instead of making Christ and His church a priority, they've allowed themselves to be seduced by the world and its values. And so as a result, what precious little time there was for nurturing the spiritual lives of their family is taken and is redistributed to lesser interests. So as a result, they're no longer hearing a consistent call to holy living. They aren't building treasure in heaven. They aren't being reminded who died to give them life, nor are they developing the kind of spiritual relationships that will encourage them and hold them accountable. It's no wonder then that marriages are falling apart and children are running amok. So young people, listen. I'm asking you to get serious about your relationship with Christ. Act like a believer whether your parents do so or not. Don't allow yourself to be more committed to sports, school activities, or hanging out with your friends than you are to God. Give yourselves wholeheartedly to the Lord. Moms, wives, listen. I'm asking you to get serious about your relationship with Christ. For your children's sake and your husband's sake, act like the believer you claim to be. Show by word and example what it means to be a godly woman. Devote your whole being to your husband. Live honorably before your children. Give yourselves wholeheartedly to the Lord. And finally, dads, husbands, listen. I'm asking you to get serious about your relationship with Christ. Be that godly influence that causes your children to want to respect you and your wife to honor you. Make sure your wife knows that she is prized and appreciated. Make sure your kids know that you're proud of them and want to be with them. Give yourselves wholeheartedly to the Lord. And with that said, I'd like to take a moment and stand before the Lord on your behalf to intercede for your family and ask the Lord to empower you and encourage you to fulfill these things. Let's pray together. Lord, family life is so important, and yet we struggle so much knowing how to do it well. Far too often there's tension, division, and strife. We need your help to do better. Therefore, we pray for marriages to be stronger, for conflicts to be resolved, for forgiveness to be expressed, and for both partners to have the willingness to joyfully yield themselves to each other out of their shared commitment to you. We pray as well for parents and their children. Help them model, love, and give respect to one another. Draw them closer to you so that they will be empowered to draw closer to each other. Bless them all with your transforming grace. We ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen. We invite you to stand now as we sing this song that reminds us that we're not alone in this endeavor. We have a friend in Jesus who will be with us. As you sing it, be encouraged.
What a friend we have in Jesus. All our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear. All because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. Have we trials and temptation? Is there trouble anywhere? We should never be discouraged. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Can we find a friend so faithful who will all our sorrows share? Jesus knows our every weakness. Take it to the Lord in prayer.
I know what I've presented to you this morning addresses family life primarily in the traditional sense of family. But the things that we've said today applies to any form of family. Maybe you're single. Maybe you do not have children. Maybe your children have all grown up and are off on their own. Many different forms of family. But the things that we've talked about today are just as valid for every relationship you have. I hope you'll take that to heart. May God bless you until we gather again. Acolytes.